Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're a returning subscriber, you're welcome. If you're new, you're welcome. Please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and give a comment. And if you have anything you would like me to make, any type of video you'd like me to make, please write it down and I will do just that. Today we'll be going into the CSS, introduction to CSS, CSS basic. Why HTML is the fundamental structure of every web page. It can be visually unappealing on its own. Cascading Style Sheet or CSS is a language web developers use to style HTML content on a web page. If you're interested in modifying the colors, font type, font sizes, images, elements, positioning, and more, if you want to give it a little bit of color and style it the way you like, CSS is the tool for the job. In this lesson, you will learn how to style your HTML code with CSS. So CSS is the language we use to style the HTML documents. CSS also describes how HTML elements should be displayed, like style everything you build with HTML with CSS, and it will be a fun one. So why not stick around and let's dig into it. Different ways to write CSS. There are different ways. There are three different ways. We have the inline styles, internal styles, and external styles. So the inline styles are written inside the HTML tag by using the style attribute. So this is the one you can write inside the HTML, okay, using the style attribute. For instance, I've written some HTML here, and if you notice you have this error, you encounter this error, is because there's a just HTML that goes inside the body goes here. So in CodePen, we don't need to write the doc type, HTML, header, title, because by default, they've already written it in their HTML. So to prevent the error, what we could do is we remove the body, remove the doc types, and leave only the body. All right. So the error is gone now. Okay. So the inline styles are the styles you write within your HTML. While the internal style is the one you write in your HTML document, but in your header, you will write your style in it. So that's the internal style. Then we have the external styles. This is the most common of them all, and this is the one that is mostly preferred. The common way of styling the HTML element in real projects, here we need to write the styles in a separate CSS file and need to include the CSS file in the head tag by using a link. So when we move to VS Code, you will discover that you will create a different file for your CSS. And then you put the link in the header of your HTML. We can't really do it with the CodePen, but as we progress and you start using the VS Code, we include that and you will see what I mean. So since CodePen has already made a provision for the style sheet, which is within the same CodePen, the pen you are using to write your HTML. So we'll style it with this for now. Then when we progress to the VS Code, when we are comfortable using the CodePen, then I will teach you how to download and start using VS Code editor to write your code. So we'll be styling it here. So these are the different types of styles we have in CSS: inline, internal, and external styles. So, but we'll be using the one that we have available in CodePen. So basically we can call this the external CSS because it's in a different file, but the difference is we are not able to put the link because by default CodePen has already like inbuilt provided everything. So we just start by writing our code. All right, so let's get into it. Our styling, I'll first of all show you how to style the inline style. So for the inline style, like I said, is a code you write within your HTML file. So for instance, if you want to style this inline style paragraph, we'll go by putting the style. So let's say we would like to change the color of this text. So we'll write color. Yeah, if you want to change the color to blue. So this is the inline style. We've basically like changed the color of the style to blue within our HTML documents. But most people, when you're building a small web page or a landing page, you can use the inline style. But most people find it complicated because it makes your HTML file code to be very big, and it's not professional. So in a professional setting, they prefer the external side styling. So for instance, if we want to do the external styling, for instance, let's change the background color of this body. The background color of the body of this, let's change the background color. Let's say we want to change the background color. All right, so this is the background color. We've changed the background color of the body of our web page to red. Okay, so but in most text editors, they put this the value, they put it the CSS value, let's say is red or blue or whatever, in a quotation mark. But this particular code editor, they just leave it plain. They don't put it in like you put it in a quotation mark. All right, so this is how to style your background color. A CSS rule consists of a selector and a declaration block. So for instance, this is the CSS syntax. We use the P, which is a paragraph in our HTML elements, but it can be a H1, H2, H3, all that we've learned in the in the HTML. So the color that was assigned to it is called the declaration. You're declaring what you want to do to that particular selector, and the value you put into it, the value we added to our hours is red. So but it can be anything. There are varieties of colors that you can use in building your web page. So you can as well use the font size, you can as well use position as declaration. You can say the position of the text should be center, it should be up or down. So yes, so and the value you put in is called value. The selector points to the HTML element you want to style. So it can be a H1, a P tag, a header, depending on anything you call it, that's what it is. The declaration block contains one or more declarations separated by semicolon. You can use different declarations. Maybe when you have hundreds of H1s in your code, you can separate it by adding class to your HTML code and target the particular H1 you want to style. I will show you that. Each declaration includes a CSS property, name, and a value separated by semicolon. So this is the semicolon that separates it. Multiple CSS declarations are separated with semicolons, and declaration blocks are surrounded by curly braces. So once you follow these rules, any style you apply to your HTML code, it will change. But if you don't follow the rule as it is, and you don't target the particular selector of HTML you would like to style, it can like do a whole different lot of things to your website. Then we'll say you've introduced bug to your code, because it will mess up your code. So it's important that you learn how to select and how to target the particular HTML element you want to style. This will make your work easier. This will make you not to end up fixing bugs. Okay. All right. So let's get to with our styling. I think we'll change this red color. Is too bright, so we can change it to light gray. Okay, so this is better. All right, so for instance, let's say we'd like to style this learning class CSS. So if you notice in my div, which is the short form for division, I used ID to target this particular H1, because if I do H1, for instance, and I change the color of the text to, let's say, green, it targets the two H1s, which is this and this. And maybe the green I want to, the particular H1 I want to target is the one that has the learning CSS. So this is how I make sure I target the one I want. I use the ID. ID is something you use to, style. You put ID and class in your HTML so that it can help you and assist you when you're styling out or when you're targeting a particular HTML element. So for ID, if you want to add the ID, so for ID we specify it by using the hash. Okay, well, let's start the H1. For instance, if you put the H1 here, and we'll style the color of the text to, let's say, green, it changes the two H1s, which is the learning CSS and the my styles, because their HTML tags are H1. But if we want to target this particular H1, which is learning CSS, and if you notice, I enclosed it with divs, because if you extend this div to cover it all, it will still be targeting the two H1s. So divs helps when you want to separate things, contents, and so that when you're styling, it will go to that particular one you want to style. For instance, if you want to style the one with learning CSS, you push the hashtag, which represents the ID, and then header, which is the ID name, then H1. It targets this. Okay. And let's say we want to style the H1 as well, that has my style as is H1 content. So I've already added this in a different div as well. So we'll style it by adding class. So we can call the class content that targets that. Then here, when you add dot content and H1, no, this will be in the div. It targets this particular content and it changes it to red. So this is how to separate your style and give each, select, get each selector from the HTML, target it and put styling to it. It's pretty simple if you know the basics. Let's say we want to increase the font size of this our inline style. So it's blue. Okay, it's blue here. Okay, let's say we add the P. And we want to increase the font size. Yeah, it increased the font size of our paragraph. So you can increase it as much as you want depending on what you are building. So this is generally the basics and the syntax of how to like style your HTML file and give it the best style you can think of.